Welcome to the deep dive. You know that feeling when you're trying to help a kid, maybe your own, maybe a student who's just struggling to focus? With impulse control.
Yeah, and we always look for these big, complex, expensive solutions.
Exactly. Well, today we are just tearing up that playbook. We've got a stack of research that all points to the same thing.
It really does. We have everything from sleep science out of McGill University to neurological studies using mobile eye tracking, even special ed interventions.
And the conclusion is that optimizing a child's cognition, it isn't complicated. It's shockingly low tech.
Our mission today is to unpack that evidence. We're going to show you how these simple, non-traditional interventions are actually the most powerful tools we have.
We're talking minutes of sleep, a bit of movement, and a dose of nature. And we have metrics so precise, they are literally down to the minute.
We're calling it the 3 M's: minutes, movement, and Mother Nature. And what's amazing is that these things work fastest and best for the very kids who need them the most.
Which makes this a huge opportunity for real equitable change.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start with the absolute foundation for brain function: rest. And we're going right to the most shocking finding in our entire stack. We're talking about precision sleep science.
That's right. This comes from a McGill University study on school-age kids, specifically 7 to 11-year-olds. They asked a question nobody else had really quantified.
Which was?
What is the absolute minimal effective dose of extra sleep you need to see a real cognitive benefit?
And the number they landed on, I mean, it almost feels made up.
Right.
It wasn't a nice round number like 30 minutes or an hour. They found that kids needed, get this, exactly 27.36 minutes of extra sleep.
27.36. That precision is it's wild.
To see a measurable difference the very next day.
The very next day, yes.
Yeah.
And the gains were immediate and they were significant. The researchers saw that the kids who got just that little bit extra sleep, they were less impulsive.
Less easily distracted in class. Yep. And far less likely to have emotional outbursts, temper tantrums or crying. It's just an instant payoff in self-regulation.
And the flip side of that is the warning. Losing just under an hour, say 50 minutes of sleep, had the exact opposite effect.
A pronounced negative effect on behavior, on mood. We always talk about sleep deprivation being about yawning, but it's so much more.
Right. The research is clear that for kids, it often looks like hyperactivity, crankiness, and just a really short attention span.
It speaks to how fragile that consistency needs to be. I mean, the National Sleep Foundation says 5 to 12-year-olds need 10 to 11 hours of sleep.
And almost none of them are getting it.
Not even close. Most go to bed after 9 p.m. We have data showing 43% of 10 and 11-year-old boys are regularly sleeping less than the minimum.
So if 27 minutes makes that big of a difference, we have to talk about how to get it. The sources lay out 9 steps, but let's get into the why behind them.
Okay, so the first one is the big picture. You have to prioritize sleep by example. Kids see what we do. If we treat sleep like it's optional, they will too.
And the second one is the hardest, I think, consistent schedules.
Always the hardest.
Especially with weekends. The recommendation is so specific here. A fixed bedtime and wake time with no more than a 1-hour difference between school nights and weekends. Why is that 1 hour so crucial?
It's all about the circadian rhythm. It's a delicate thing. If you let them sleep in for 3 hours on Saturday, you're essentially giving them jet lag come Monday morning.
I see.
That 1-hour buffer lets the body adapt without totally resetting its internal clock. It maximizes the benefit of those extra minutes.
Okay, so then we get to the sleep environment itself. The sources are clear.
Yeah.
Quiet, dark, cool, all the stuff we expect. But there's this one rule that really stood out to me.
What was that?
It's about avoiding using the bedroom for punishment.
Oh, yeah. That's a huge one.
Why is that so critical?
It's because you have to protect that space psychologically. The bedroom needs to be a sanctuary, associated only with rest, with safety. The moment you introduce penalty or negative feelings into that space,
it creates stress.
Exactly. It creates stress and anxiety, which are, they're the biggest barriers to falling asleep.
And speaking of stress, you have to minimize stimulation, no screens.
The screens are the obvious villain. But what about the dietary rules, the 2-hour rule?
You have to avoid heavy meals in the 2 hours before bed. Digestion raises your body temperature, and that makes it harder to fall asleep. A small snack is okay.
But the hard line is on stimulants.
Absolutely no caffeine. And that includes things you might not think about, like chocolate or a lot of sodas. And no napping. Napping steals that sleep pressure you need for a long night.
Right. And then daytime activity. Exercise is great, but not too close to bedtime. But let's talk about homework culture. This is a huge reason kids stay up late. It is. And staying up late to finish an assignment is a definitive no-no. The studies are clear. If a kid, say, in 4th grade, stays up just 1 hour later to finish homework,
Yeah.
the cognitive hit they take the next day completely outweighs the benefit of having the assignment done. The only solution is to start homework earlier.
Which brings us to the last tip, which I think is brilliant for parents with younger kids.
The soft sell. Instead of announcing, your bedtime is now 30 minutes earlier, which, just invites a fight.
Right.
You just start the routine 30 minutes earlier. Teeth
That's
brushing,
it.
story time, all of it. You're building in that decompression time. The goal is always that target of 10 hours for a 6 to 12-year-old.
Okay, so if consistent time is how you restore the cognitive engine, where does the environment, the space, fit into all this? Let's switch gears to the power of nature.
This is all based on attention restoration theory, or RAT. The idea is pretty simple. Natural environments provide this soft fascination. It lets the brain's capacity for directed voluntary focus just replenish.
It's like a slow charger for your attention battery.
Exactly. But here's the thing. The sources say that what happens for kids is actually different than what happens for adults.
Okay, what's that distinction?
For adults, nature mostly restores our directed attention, our ability to focus on a hard new task. But for kids, it seems to improve what they call temporal performance indicators.
Temporal performance. What does that actually look like in a classroom? Is it just less fidgeting?
It's more fundamental than that. It's about consistent effort and emotional regulation. It's not about making them suddenly better at a new math problem. It's about making them more consistent and less variable when they're doing a routine task.
So fewer unforced errors, more sustained energy.
Exactly. Nature is restoring a state of consistent readiness, not just raw processing power.
And there's a perfect study that illustrates this, the 30-minute walk experiment.
Yeah, this was with kids aged 10 to 14. They did a 30-minute walk on one of 2 routes. One was a natural environment, a forest, fields. The other was a built environment, a quiet neighborhood.
What happened right after the walks?
The results were super specific. The walk in nature produced faster mean reaction times and improved their stability of performance. But, and this is the key, it did not improve their performance on tasks that require that specific directed attention.
So it's not teaching them anything new, it's regulating their internal state, just getting them ready to learn.
Precisely. It's regulating arousal, calming the nervous system. But if we connect this to the bigger long-term picture, it's even more incredible.
How so?
Epidemiological studies show that kids with long-term, consistent exposure to green space, they don't just stay steady on reaction times. They show significant physical increases in gray matter volume in the prefrontal cortex. And white matter, too.
Wait, hold on. You're saying that being in nature doesn't just reduce stress, it physically changes the structure of their brain.
That's what the science is showing. It's the strongest evidence we have that the environment is an active input for neurological development. We're talking about more volume in the part of the brain responsible for planning and impulse control.
That is a radical finding. So how did they prove the mechanism was actually at work during those walks?
They used mobile eye tracking, which is just a brilliant way to quantify this stuff.
Yeah.
It showed that the kids made a greater number of visual fixations per minute when they were walking in nature.
More fixations. What does that tell you?
It suggests that the visual richness of nature, the complex patterns, the variety, is engaging the brain in this restorative but effortless way. It's a subtle, continuous input that restores cognition just by looking around.
And for anyone listening who's in a dense city, maybe in an apartment, the sources do offer some hope with substitutes.
Yeah, they do. The power of substitutes. Research shows that even a window with a view of nature, or a picture on the wall, even an image on a screen, it can offer some cognitive benefit. Well, not as much as being outside, obviously, but it's something.
Let's talk about how this applies to special populations, because the findings for kids with intellectual development disorder, or IDD, are just remarkable.
They really are. One study used an incredibly short dose. They showed kids with mild IDD just a 3-minute video of a natural environment.
3 minutes. So a teacher could literally use a 3-minute nature video as a reset tool before a test.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
That little bit of natural content led to a significant increase in attention and working memory. And what was really telling is that these kids showed a clear preference for the nature video, which suggests this drive is universal. For kids in institutions, videos are a powerful, accessible tool.
And we see that same principle with children with ADHD, where the impact is, frankly, transformative.
Yeah, one specific study looked at a 6-week structured exercise program in a school setting. It integrated aerobics, motor skills, resistance, and attention training.
And what they found was that the kids with ADHD saw greater improvements across the board than the typically developing kids in the same program.
And here's the headline. 50% of the kids in the ADHD group could no longer be categorized as having ADHD symptoms after those 6 weeks.
That's an extraordinary claim. I mean, that's like a major pharmaceutical breakthrough, but from movement and nature. How is that possible?
It signifies that these physical interventions are incredibly powerful regulatory tools. It suggests you can address a deficiency in regulation by building up physical capacity and regulatory skills at the same time. It's a non-pharmacological pathway.
So this raises the big question. If this stuff works so well, how do we integrate it into the school day beyond, just 20 minutes of chaotic recess?
You need a holistic strategy, and it has to center on executive functions, or EFs. These are the skills that predict success in life: creativity, self-control, discipline.
And the research is pretty clear that the kids who start with the worst EFs, kids from lower income backgrounds or with ADHD, they benefit the most.
Right.
That equity piece is powerful. Why do they benefit more?
Well, it's a combination of things. They have more room to improve, of course. But more profoundly, their regulatory systems are often the most taxed. Their brains are working harder just to keep up. When you bring in something like aerobic exercise, which we know improves prefrontal cortex function, you're giving fuel to the engine that was struggling the most.
But the sources are also clear that it's not just about exercise alone.
No, absolutely not. The benefits are maximized when you integrate it with other things. Exercise plus character development, like you see in martial arts. Or exercise plus mindfulness, like in yoga. The best approaches combine the physical, the emotional, and the social.
And this all seems to connect directly back to being outdoors.
It connects directly to the principles of sensory integration therapy, or SIT. SIT uses guided inputs, balance, touch, body awareness to help the brain organize information better. The natural environment is basically an organic, high-fidelity version of SIT. Its textures and varied stimuli support that same neurological regulation naturally.
Okay, so let's get practical. How do we design the actual outdoor spaces for this? Let's talk about nature-specific learning outside the classroom.
Right. NSLOTC. The reviews confirm it leads to huge benefits. More student engagement, better communication, flexible problem solving, and kids are less likely to drop out of school.
And the design philosophy is basically keep it simple. It's not about building a fancy outdoor lab.
Exactly. Any outdoor space can work. You just have to get rid of the butts on benches idea and focus on creating infrastructure for investigations.
So give us a concrete, cheap example.
Prioritize work surfaces over seats.
Yeah.
The best one I've seen is repurposing those big, free wooden cable spools from utility companies. You just sand them down, maybe paint them, stick a cheap beach umbrella in the middle for shade, and you have an instant, durable outdoor desk.
I love that. So what challenges did teachers face when they try to implement this? What did the studies find?
They found consistency is key, but connecting it to the curriculum can be hard. So what most teachers found was that free play, even on a regular playground, was the easiest thing to implement consistently. Consistency beats complexity every time.
And there's a big difference between grade levels.
A huge difference. Kindergarten classes were getting, on average, around 145 minutes outside a day. By 5th grade, that dropped to just 34 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. As academic pressure goes up, that restorative nature, time goes down, which tells us that the older grades are the ones who need more structured, mandated interventions.
So some quick tips for teachers. Use language like outdoor classroom, not just recess.
Yes, and create routines. Start outside by just noticing what's changed in the environment. That grounds the kids and actually reduces distractions later. And set group agreements about safety and respecting living things.
And this is already happening in the real world, right? Through things like the Sustainable Jersey grants.
It is. We're seeing communities tear up asphalt schoolyards to build educational natural landscapes, putting in rain gardens that become living lessons. It's not a theory. It's happening now.
So what does this all mean? We started with the surprising precision, and now we can kind of synthesize these key doses into a daily strategy.
The first dose is the minutes. That tiny 27-minute investment in sleep that pays off immediately in emotional regulation. The second is Mother Nature, that 30-minute nature walk that restores self-regulation and improves efficiency.
And the third is movement, the integrated activity that physically strengthens core cognitive skills like executive function.
The main principle is clear. Consistency and frequency matter way more than complexity or how much money you spend. The goal is just to make these things a non-negotiable part of the daily routine.
And we want to leave you with one final thought. The research shows again and again that the kids who struggle the most, those with the worst initial EFs, with ADHD from lower income backgrounds, they gain the absolute most from these interventions.
So since nature, movement, and sleep are the most accessible, low-cost tools we have, imagine what could happen if we built these three simple, consistent elements into every single school day.
It might just be the most powerful and equitable way we have right now to fundamentally close the achievement gap.